Welcome, everybody, to Think and Grow with Dr. Z
and Professor P.
Super excited to have with us today Justin Benton. Oh my, Justin is just cooking. He's got so much stuff in the pot. He's brewing up like this mega something. I can't wait for him to start telling you all about it.
Serial entrepreneur. So take it away, Justin. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, basically, I am a serial entrepreneur, and thanks for having me and being on one of the founding, members, if you will, on this podcast. And I'm happy to give back. And I've been a serial entrepreneur now for going on probably more years than I care to admit, but let's say 25. Okay. And I've had a lot of success in sales and marketing. That's my background. And, life was great. Jet setter lifestyle. We had our second kid, our son, Shay, and life was great. We were traveling, golfing, business was good, helping other companies with marketing and sales. And then we got a phone call that forever changed my life and our family's life, which is basically that my son, after being healthy and happy, had developed a severe form of autism diagnosis. And so our whole world stopped, and we had to figure out how to get my son's health back, and which led me down a journey of understanding health. And as I know you, Dr. Z, with diet and nutrition and the gut biome and all of the things of the immune system that are so important that really aren't stressed in our Western civilization. And so I was raised holistically. I understood the power of plant-based medicine. And so that was the course that I took. We cleaned up his diet. We got rid of, we did food allergies. We did everything that we needed to do to make sure his body was operating as efficiently as possible at the age of 3. And then he wasn't all the way back. He was starting to get a little healthier, but there were still a ways to go. And so we kept going, kept researching. And then we found Dr. William Courtney was about the power of juicing hemp or juicing cannabis. And so when we saw the research showing how it was helping people with late stage cancer with incredible results, that was the aha for me. When I found out juicing hemp, just like juicing kale, has a thing called cannabidiol. Some people call it CBD. And it was the miracle that we were looking for, the answer to our prayers. We set up a simple.org, 101cbd.org, to help other families that have been affected by autism and share our journey, share our products. That's what happened. And then I went back to the sales and marketing world until I found out so many people were using our products for so much more than autism, cancer, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, you name it, to help clear the mind and clear the body. It was kind of like that panacea that people have been looking for, that Garden of Eden plant. So that's what I was doing. I was opening stores. I sold all my businesses off, and I went to go do that. And I was rocking and rolling, and we were franchising. And then something happened in March of 2020. And then the whole world stopped spinning again. And so that's how I met you guys. I knew that we needed to get our social media. I knew that we needed to get our website up and at them. And as I was opening stores, in the back of my head, I was like, gosh, I know I don't want to sign a long lease to open and franchise more stores because Amazon was already big. Well, when COVID hit and we were trained, around 17% of Americans actually were shopping primarily online. And then when COVID hit, that number tripled and quadrupled. I mean, people weren't ordering groceries before then. And so now we all shop online. Whatever we want, we go pop it in and it shows up on our doorstep in 2 days. So I knew, okay, I have to go all in and I have to understand digital marketing online, selling to customers. These are all things new to me. I was used to dealing business to business, and now I needed to understand business to consumer or direct to consumer. And that's when I came across every morning, Jeffrey Gittermer was going live on Facebook. And I was like, oh, it's Jeffrey, the guy that wrote the book, Little Red Book of Sales. I'm like, that's cool. And so we started connecting there. And then that's how I met Joe Soto. And then that's when they did their mastermind. And then Joe Soto, just an amazing digital marketing guru for me, led me and agreed with me that the next step I needed to take was with Russell Brunson. And I went all in on that rabbit hole. And I think that's probably a good segue for us to talk about Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill and all that I've been doing with Russell.
Awesome. But I want to take a step back before we get into all that stuff. I want to a big part of our Think and Grow, our visioning is for people that are going to be listening to this podcast as it grows, the people that are just starting out. So you became this marketing sales superstar, right? But give us a, go back to those early years and give us a little bit of, early struggles. Bam, I got this, when, kind of when you knew that, hey, I can be really successful at this. And it sounds to me like that was like the precursor to when you really took off with all this other stuff.
Well, sure. I mean, and I went to Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska, and paid a good amount of money to go to a private school like that. And so, anyways, after school, I got my first big job, and it was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the first thing that they do when you sign up for this company, it was a part of DirecTV. It was at the back end and software stuff. The first thing that they do is they send you through a 3-day Stephen Covey course for 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And they say right in the beginning of this course, the company that sends you through a 3-day course, like that's all you do. You go off-site, you are working on a 3-day course right as you sign up. And that was when I was introduced to these philosophies of focusing on what you can control and expanding your circle of influence and all of these frameworks that I had never ever learned in a $100,000 education. No one's teaching this kind of stuff. And so when I was exposed to that for the first 3 days of my employment, it absolutely blew my mind at like 21 years old. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these mindsets and this taking control of my mind and understanding these principles was so foreign to me, but so exciting. And so that really started my personal development journey. And then that's what it led me to Dale Carnegie and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And of course, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, all of the other amazing authors that were out there. And the crazy thing is obviously, Stephen Covey's still with us, but many of these other authors are no longer with us. So we just have their books and sometimes some recordings to listen to. And so I just went on a deep dive of personal development and it was amazing to really be able to take control of your own mindset and look at like some of the conditioning that's happening in our lives and some of the things like, well, money doesn't grow on trees and all of these stuff that people force feed us. And, whether it was our parents who went through the Depression or whatever their struggles or their things, well, whatever their belief system are gets passed on to you. And the question that I would always encourage your audience to ask is if you have a belief and you don't know why you have that belief, that is not your belief. That is someone else's belief. Yeah. And so to always make sure that whatever limitation that you have in your life, that's all on you. Like you can have whatever you want. And if you sit there and you think that I say that and you think, well, that's not true, well, then that's right. That's your belief. Right. Just like Henry Ford said, if you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you won't.
Exactly.
And it sometimes sounds too simplistic, but at the end of the day, it's the truth that I know.
Now, how did you go from just going back to the CBD with your son, going back to just juicing and giving your son this treatment that you'd found, to then making it your own business and really diving deep and expanding that and sending that to other people? What was the transition like with that?
Well, again, remember, so I was just looking for a solution for my son. Mm-hmm. And, that was like the box was checked. And so I was happy. But then, when I saw the people kept coming and they kept coming and hundreds of and thousands of people were like hearing our story and they're like, we want this. Can I try this? And then I would literally physically see them showing up because we had an extra office suite. And so I just put a sign up and I just went back to the other suite and worked. But they would show up and for things like rheumatoid arthritis, and they would come up for neuropathy, and they would come up for cancer. And so, and when I saw them take our product and then physically come back into the store a week later and say, it worked, the pain is gone, I was like, whoa. But then when I saw someone come in for cancer and they said, I'm not doing chemo anymore, I'm not doing radiation anymore, I'd rather die than go through that. She was a German lady. And she said, I have done my research and you guys are the best. I want to try your product and I will, it's either basically live or die. And I was like blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And so anyways, after a couple of months, she kept taking the oil and she would come back on a consistent basis. And then we finally said, so how's it going? And she says, doing great, playing tennis. She was in her 70s. And I said, well, how about the other thing? And she's like, oh, I went to UCLA and I have a clean bill of health.
Wow.
So
Wow.
all that happened. And it's not just CBD, it's not just cannabis or hemp. You have to have a good diet. You are what you eat. You have to have a good thought. You are what you think. You have to be exercising. You have to be sleeping. You have to be working on your mindset. These are that holistic health approach that we just aren't being taught anywhere. But fortunately now all this information is out there on the internet. You just need to find the right guide to help teach you through it. So for 101 CBD, I went all in. I was to reach 1 billion people by 2025. And that's why I've gone into these masterminds and collaborated with these influencers to teach them about our story, teach them about health, and help as many people as I possibly can.
But actually developing and growing the business side of it, how did you then transition to then doing that?
Well, I've always been in business. I've always been a serial entrepreneur. So, I'm one of those, when you're a serial entrepreneur, you just jump off the cliff and then you build a plane on the way down. So that's what I wasn't going. I'm not someone who sits around and overanalyzes or thinks too long. And so it's kind of like Top Gun and Maverick. If you think you're dead up there, you just go. You take imperfect action and you move forward and you trust your why, and you see people's lives change like that. So you open up one store and then you learn as best you can about how can I serve people. And then you go to all the conferences and you meet all the mentors and you meet all the people who are already successful, and you model and you understand and you ask questions and you take mentors and you just don't stop. I mean, as far as doing it as a business, you just take one step and as far as in front of the other. And that's what I did. And so we opened one store, then we opened another store, then we opened another store, and we obviously we were in the physical world. And so I knew how to do wholesale accounts. I knew how to talk to chiropractors. So I built a sales team. And then if you want to make sure you hire the best people you possibly can, that A player can be like literally 2,000% better than a B player. And so I had a lot of experience with hiring. So I had a lot of experience by the time the 101 CBD came around. There were some things that I had to learn, and some nuances. I hired some great professionals. I had incredible accountants. I had incredible attorneys. And so those are all the steps that it took for me.
Yeah. Okay.
What I want to know, you guys, is about Farmer Benton, this growing your own hemp and creating all of that. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that all evolved?
Sure. For me, I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and everyone thinks it's just a bunch of cornfields out there, which they're kind of right. About 99% is cornfield.
Yeah.
And so I grew up around the farm. I detasseled corn. I did I knew how to grow. My buddies were farmers, and I just was that green thumb. I was raised with plant-based medicine and things like that. And so when it came to becoming a farmer out here for hemp, people in California there was some friends of mine that were also farmers, and they were cannabis farmers. And so I picked their brain and I learned from them. And with hemp, I grow it outside under sunshine and organic soil. And it took a couple attempts to understand it, just like anything in life. But once remember, I was growing these plants for my son. And so I had to figure out a way to get him a cold pressed plant, a juice, and that wasn't available anywhere else. So again, out of necessity, I had to figure it out. And so I did. And then I grew as much as I needed for my farm or for my situation. And then now there's plenty of hemp around. And it was quite an exciting time.
So what does that look like, Justin? Did you lease out some land to grow I'm trying to envision what your, the Benton farm, the Benton hemp farm looks like, right?
Well, fortunately, we had enough land for us to grow, a few acres is all we ever needed.
Okay.
You can get a lot of cannabidiol out of hemp. And then we ended up partnering. There's about 43 farmers out here in our county, in Ventura. And I started an organization where we could all support each other. depending upon how much we needed. And so there was so much hemp that was being grown after they passed the farm bill in 2018. So 2019, we had hemp coming out of our ears. So I didn't need to expand my operations anymore. The farmers were already great farmers. They had the land. I worked with some of them. I helped them get their land going. But at the end of the day, there was hemp everywhere. And so, I just partnered with them and co-opted with them.
Wow.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's neat. Well, so what are some of the new adventures or the next enterprises that you're in which you're involved now?
Well, like I said, the transition happened in March of 2020, and that's where we met, and that was with Joe Soto and Jeffrey Kittimer. And I knew that I had to become a digital marketing expert. I knew that you can either hire it, you can hire people, just like I've hired accountants and attorneys. The trick that I've had with hiring people for digital marketing is you don't really know how good they are. Like everyone says they're great, and then you spend $20 or $25, and then it's like nothing happens. Or you spend let's say you spend $25,000 on a digital marketing campaign for Facebook ads or YouTube ads or whatever, and it does work. Well, okay, that's great. And then you keep sending them money, and then what happens if they raise their prices, or if the algorithms change, or if your account rep gets promoted? And so you're basically hooked at the hip to this digital marketing agency, and you hope they're good people and they won't jack their prices, or they'll be you're basically relying on them to produce the results. Well, for me, that's wasn't a model that I was happy with. I come from marketing, so I what I did was I became an expert myself. I understood the strategy, and then I would help and teach the people that I would hire internally, and that let them do the tactics. And I think one of the biggest things that anyone ever taught me was in Joe's world, in Joe Soto's world, was the power of using VAs, especially from the Philippines. And once I figured out that lesson, because obviously the costs of employees and payroll and taxes and insurance and everything that goes along with that, you really you can't miss sometimes when it comes to hiring. And it's hard to hire, let's face it. But if you could find someone in a great environment, we use a company called thevirtualhub.com, and they train and they have health benefits for these wonderful folks in the Philippines, and they're loyal and they're great. And so then you can understand these strategies from these masterminds and these great people, and then you tell them, here's the strategy that I want you to do. You do the tactics, and it's the who, not the how. You're not doing it yourself. You're delegating it to people who aren't costing, they're costing somewhere around minimum wage, but they're doing incredible digital marketing things. And so that was one of the things that was really powerful for me to understand in the digital marketing world.
Yeah, I could see that, because you were coming from basically like the real world, like you say, having stores, to then going online. So are you completely online now? You don't have any more stores?
We still have a couple stores, but we're not planning on opening anytime soon. Unfortunate, because I know our customers who are 50 plus or 55 plus, the baby boomers, they love us. They love to come in and sit down and talk and have a cup of coffee and talk about their health and talk about what they've gone through. But unfortunately, even they've been trained to buy online. And so it's not practical anymore. So we have a store in Ventura, California, where I am right now, and you can swing by anytime. We're open 7 days a week. But the world has shifted, and it is online. You've got to understand that is where the people are shopping. 67, 68% of the country, our country, everybody shops online first. And so if you're not online, you're gonna likely be dying on the vine.
For sure.
Yeah, so it sounds like, Justin, you figured out, with the COVID thing hitting, how to break through these new adversities that you were facing, right? So can you talk more about some of the mentors, the motivations, the influences that really was in that next chapter for you?
Well, like I said, Joe, and I love Joe, and I'm a part of his mastermind, and he's a great guy. I'll always be friends with Joe, and I love picking his brain and hearing his idea. But you know, and Joe gives you incredible strategies and incredible tactics and incredible, you know, ad copy, and has an amazing network. But the transition was into Russell's world. So Russell Brunson wrote the book Traffic Secrets, which came out March of 2020. And so when, you know, and Joe was in that world, and he was like, absolutely, you know, he loves Russell and Russell loves Joe. And so that was the next transition of, okay, you know, I love Joe. I want more. I need more. I want more. I want more and more mentors. And so it was Russell Brunson, and he, in March of 2020, I devoured the book Traffic Secrets. If you haven't read the book Traffic Secrets, I mean, look, what's the number one thing all of us are looking for in our business now that it's online? More leads, more traffic, more people showing up, more eyeballs.
More
And
funnel.
so that's, yes, traffic. We need traffic. You can build a website, but you need traffic, good traffic that converts, right? And that's the next part, is obviously a good funnel and a landing page. And there's Traffic Secrets right there.
Yes, sir.
And so,
ask and you shall receive.
And I have read that book, I kid you not, over 100 times. I've read it over 100 times. .com Secrets is the one to start with for the funnels for sure.
Okay.
But,
and
so,
sorry to interrupt.
And then Secrets, that's how you build a movement. That'll teach you how to build. So, but the thing is, I study those, I read those books. I've read each of those books at least 50 times. I've read Traffic Secrets 100 times. I put it on Audible, over and over, study and go back. And I'll hire a virtual assistant team, and we'll go through chapter by chapter, and I'll make them implement every single one of those strategies, including like Dream 100. So you take a week and you just implement that strategy and implement those tactics. And that's what led me to going down the rabbit hole with Russell. I went to Funnel Hacking Live last year. He opened up his Inner Circle Mastermind, which had been closed for like 3 years. And they were retooling some things. And so when they opened up the Inner Circle Mastermind again, I was like, where do I sign? Who wants my money? Where do I put my credit card? And it was amazing. And I've met so many great people. I was hanging out with this great guy, Damon Burton, yesterday. He flew out, and we hung out on the beach and talked business and strategy. And he's an SEO king. And you know, it's part of that thing is about just surrounding yourself with can-do people, positive people that have expectations, people that will push you, that will support you, that will show you what can be done, that will show you the insights. And that's the thing about joining a mastermind, which got started with Napoleon Hill and Henry Ford and Thomas Edison, was that they were pushing each other and elevating each other. And that's what happened at Russell Brunson's Inner Circle. Was they all kind of started at the same place about 6 years ago. And then when Inner Circle opened in the beginning, but they all kept competing and raising and supporting and sharing insights with each other. So by the time, you know, 3 or 4 years had passed, these folks had all become doing, you know, 40 and 50 and $100 million of business online using these tactics. And so again, if you're going to reach 1 billion people by 2025 like me, then you need to surround yourself with those kinds of people and have those kinds of relationships and understand those kinds of insights to really scale your business.
Now, can you talk more about that? You said you would just give these books to your VAs, to your team, and then have them implement it. So would they come up with ideas of how to implement it in your particular business or trying out different strategies? Can you like piece that out a little bit more?
We would literally hop on the phone on a Monday. We would go through the book. We would we would go over the parts that we wanted to prioritize to get started, and then they would do it. And if they had certain questions or anything, then I would answer them. But other than that, they would just implement them, like the Dream 100, like reaching out. And first thing you got to do as the entrepreneur is write your list out, write your 100 influencers, your 100 people that already have your audience. And so then once you've done that, then you would have them find them on Instagram, follow them on Instagram, comment on their posts on Instagram, and then reach out on Messenger and figure out ways you could serve them. You could also send them a really cool gift. You could, turn their heads. You could show up at their events. You can do all kinds of things. You could send thank you cards. There's a million things you can do, but you connect with these people. And that's all covered in, chapter 1 of Traffic Secrets. So you would just go through every chapter and you would just line item each things that you wanted to do. and you just go for it. Like, to me, it's like, obviously I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a big picture thinker. I don't get lost in the details.
Yeah.
That's what other people need to do. And other people can get lost in the details and focus on those kinds of things. For me, it's like, all right, chapter 1, let's go. And we implement. All right, chapter 2, let's go. And we implement. And that's the thing, is there's so much information that's out there. And how do you know who to pick? How do you know who to follow? And for me, it was so clear that Russell Brunson was the best. Not only has he led hundreds of people to make tens of millions of dollars a year and have incredible impact, but he has done it with other people. So he's done it himself, but he's brought hundreds of other people to do it. I don't know anyone else on planet Earth that's done that. I don't know him. I've been in Tony Robbins' world. I'm wearing his hat. Yeah. I've been in Jeffrey Gitomer's world. Love him. Great sales guy. Right. I've never met anybody who shows you the step-by-step framework and has done it with hundreds of other entrepreneurs like Russell Brunson. So I went all in with Russell, joined his mastermind, and now we're partners, because I figured out the way to serve him and what he needed, which was connecting him with the Napoleon Hill Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah, Justin, I love it that there's this bank code that we touched on a little bit in the podcast details. You're a total action guy, right? So you're, like you said, we're going to build this parachute we're going to jump out of the plane, boom, boom, boom. And then we're going to take action to solve it as we're falling to the ground, right? So talk more about your latest venture, the Dream One. Zelda and I were on your webinar, super excited for people to be able to figure out a strategy to get a one-on-one, face-to-face, whatever, with their number one person is very powerful. Tell us more about that.
Well, again, that's because that's what I did for Russell in Napoleon Hill Foundation. And so he loves Napoleon Hill. He loves Think and Grow Rich. He loves all the books. He loves Outwitting the Devil. And but they were at a standstill. The relationship wasn't quite clicking for whatever reason. Russell's a super busy guy, and one day I was at a mutual friend of ours, Ken Walls. There was going to be an auction in Los Angeles and Hollywood, and I had heard about it. And Rainey, who wrote the book "Can You Really Think and Grow Rich," was hosting it. And so Ken called me and said, "Hey, there's going to be an auction there with Don Green, the president of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, auctioning off some crazy rare Napoleon Hill stuff." And I was,
Uh-oh. Hey, he's back.
I'm back. All right. So anyways, then you have people edit. That's what you do here. Yeah. And so, and actually now with Zoom, you can edit it yourself pretty well. They've gotten good with that. Sweet. And Vimeo. Anyways, and so with Russell and the Napoleon Hill Foundation, there was going to be an auction. And so I put it out there in the Inner Circle Facebook group, and I said, "Oh, by the way, there's going to be an auction in Hollywood. If anyone's interested, hit me up for the deets." And I was speaking more to people that lived in LA. And of course, like 10 minutes later, I get a message from Russell, and he's like, "Hey dude, what's the deets?" And I'm like, "Well, there's an auction in Hollywood Hills, Napoleon Hill stuff." And I said, I'm more than happy to go down there with you, or act by proxy to get you whatever you need. And so he was like freaking out. He's so excited because, remember, his relationship, it just wasn't forming the way that he wanted with Napoleon Hill Foundation. He's super busy. Napoleon Hill Foundation, super busy. Right. And they just couldn't connect, but they needed to connect because they were the right people that needed to connect. And so anyways, I go down to Hollywood Hills. Russell's like, "I want to buy the whole lot for, tons of money." And I just said, "Dude, wait until I get there and let me see what they got. Let me see what you got. And let me just get you the stuff that you don't have." And he goes, "Okay, that's a good idea." And so he was just so excited. And so anyways, we got these incredible, like, hand-signed checks from Napoleon Hill to like a film production company, and first edition signed books, and the first ever NFTs for Think and Grow Rich, and all this amazing stuff. And I got it for about 1/10 of what he was ready to spend. And anyway, so I got the stuff. And this is the dream 100 stuff. This is the dream one. So taking it to the next level is, you know, you could just send it FedEx, or as I was driving the stuff back to my house, I was like, I'm just going to fly this stuff to Russell, and I'm going to hand deliver it to him, because again, I'll have more FaceTime with Russell, who was my dream one. And basically I got him, he was my dream one, and he became, you know, I got him his dream one, and that's how we became partners. So I flew it out there to Boise, Idaho, to his office, and gave him all the goodies, and we talked some more. And then I said, you know, can I help more? I mean, that this is no problem for me. This is easy stuff. And so he's like, well, you know, it's all good, blah, blah, blah. There was, again, he kind of thought things were going to unfold a certain way. And I was like, cool, man. Well, I'm happy to help. And then I went back to life. And then all of a sudden I kept getting texts from Don, who's the president. And he was like, you know, hitting me up. He kept thinking that I was Russell. And I was like, no, this is Justin. And so eventually he kept hitting me up. And that's part of it, man. They're on the other side of the country in Wise, Virginia, and, you know, whatever. And so eventually Don kept hitting me up about like, hey, you know, what, this, that, and the other. And I said, look, and I reached back out to Russell. I said, look, Don is very interested. And I said, if you want, I'll fly out to the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I'll go through the archives. I'll go through the library and look for everything that, again, that you don't have that you want. So I did that and went through the tour, and then we saw all this amazing, incredible stuff. Some of it I can't even talk about because it's unpublished manuscripts. Like there are manuscripts that Napoleon wrote that have not been published, that have never seen the light of day. And anyway, so I started telling Russell about all this, and then I started understanding what Don wanted, and he's raising money for kids to help them have access to Napoleon Hill. And so I just basically took what I knew what Russell wanted, and I knew what Don wanted, and I combined them together, and I made a perfect deal for both of them. It was a win-win. And that was the genesis of our relationship. And now I'm, you know, I guess I'm kind of Russell's go-to guy as far as getting stuff done. And I figured if I could help Russell and the Napoleon Hill Foundation connect in a dream one way, then I should offer my services to other people who know that if like, for example, if you know you wrote a book and it is perfect for Oprah Winfrey's office, for her audience, if you got on Oprah's book club, and all you needed, and you know in your heart, if I could talk to Oprah for 5 minutes, if I caught her on the elevator, if I caught her in a hotel lobby, whatever the situation was, if I could talk to her for 5 minutes and have her genuinely listen to me and be interested in what I had to say, that she would absolutely get this book out there. Well, that's what I would do. That's what I do, is say, okay, let's get that meeting started. And we would get Oprah's attention. We would talk to her people, and then we would get a meeting set up. And sometimes I will be the one that goes and does the meeting, or I'll go with you to do the meeting to make sure the meeting goes as well as possible and make that dream one connection. So it's funny how life kind of unfolds, and you have to understand what your unique talents are. And then if you have a unique talent and you've done amazing things, then allow others to, you know, do the same things for them, if that's what's in the cards.
Wow, that's incredible. You know, in the very beginning, you talked about beliefs and how people have beliefs that hold them back. But it sounds like you had beliefs that would spur you forward. So what were some of those beliefs, even when you were much younger, maybe even as a teenager, that kind of drove you to believe in yourself, that you could be awesome salesperson and marketing and all the things?
Great question.
Yeah.
Well, I had a great mom, again, who was also holistically plant-based. And so she was, she always was a great supporter. She was always someone who also said, you know, beat to your own drum, you know, and she was just always really amazing when it came to just telling me to go for it. And so that was my conditioning raised up. You know, she was a positive person. She is a positive person. And so I think that's part of it. I mean, our upbringing, you either embrace what your upbringing is, or you rebel. And so in those regards, I embraced what my mom had taught me, and to go after your dreams and things like that, you know. But there's other mentors or people in my life that were, you know, the negative type. And like I said, when I read that book with Stephen Covey, it was the first time that I really understood that I could take control of my thoughts. And that's what led me to things like Think and Grow Rich. So again, I did have some good upbringing as far as mental attitude and things like that. But once I understood and it was unlocked that I had ultimately control of my thoughts, then I just went with it. And I don't know. I mean, I guess there's always that nature versus nurture argument about, how much of it is your upbringing versus how much of it is your DNA. But once you read a book or you get exposed to the fact that you are fully 100% in control of your life and your attitude, then that's when you become a responsible person. Like most people become responsible adults when they have children. It's like, oh crap, it's not just about me and I have to think about other people.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurs are kind of like, well, there's a problem that I solved for myself and I'm going to make it and I'm going to solve it for other people. And so and for me, like Stephen Covey also talked about, the distance between action and your reaction is freedom. So understanding, regardless of what happens to you in life, there's only about 30 seconds to 90 seconds of physiological flight versus fear and all of that kind of thing that happens. Everything else after that is conditioning. So you can wake up every morning and you can focus on what are the things I'm grateful for. You can focus on what you have in your life, not what you don't. You can focus on the attitude and the feeling that you would feel when you get the things that you actually have, because we're all like, oh, if I only had this, I only had that, then life would be great. Or you could just visualize what that would feel like in this moment, and you could live that moment, that emotion all the way through until you accomplished it every single day, enjoying the journey. And so I don't know, it really comes down to finding the books, the mentors, the people to surround yourself with, and take control of your life. And don't be a victim. It's on you. All the good, all the bad is on you. It's no one else's fault but you.
Yes, sir. So I'm guessing more than likely you've read the book, The One Thing. Yes? No?
I don't know. Who wrote it?
I don't remember. Anyways, the one thing that really stood out for me in that book is how powerful the questions are. It sounds like you haven't read it. It's been out for a while. I don't know off the top of my head who the author is, but so the questions are way more powerful than just finding somebody that can give you the answer, because the more questions you ask, the further you go, the more clarity you get. It just goes on and on and on, and it's extremely powerful. With that said, what is the one thing that is in your mind that really stands out for somebody just starting out, that if you could only give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Find someone that has done it before, what you want, and that has helped other people accomplish it as well. And follow them and do everything they say and don't question it. Shut your brain off. You choose your coach. You find your mentor who has done what you want to do and has helped others do it. And then listen to every word they say. And if your brain says, well, that doesn't make sense, smack your brain and say, nope, because I chose my mentor, I chose my coach, and I'm going to do it all the way through because I can't do it by myself. No one has ever gotten to where they are by themselves. No one has gotten to where they are successful in life by themselves. Whether it was their wife supporting them or their spouse supporting them, or great parents or great mentors or great business partners or great employees, you have to do it with other people. Quit trying to do it with your ego. Quit trying to outthink yourself.
Yes, sir.
If you don't know what to do next, close your eyes, listen to your heart, ask your heart the question, and that's what you need to do. And you need to go find a coach, a mentor who's already done it and helped others, and listen to them. Shut off your brain, listen to them, do it, and then check back with me in 12 months and let me know how it went.
Wow, I think I hit a hot button on that one. Justin, how many times have you done that for yourself? I think I asked the right question there. Yes, no, maybe.
Well, how many examples have I already displayed today that I've done that?
Well, now talk about the power of vision, though, because you can have a vision for your life, but obviously it sounds like yours took a lot of different turns that you didn't necessarily expect.
Yep. And and I believe we're all here for a reason, right? We all have unique talents. We all experience life in a certain way, and we can do things to leave the world a better place than where we found it. Like Steve Jobs says, put my dent in the universe. And so if we all know we only have 30,000 days roughly, if we're lucky enough to have 30,000 days, how are you going to spend them? What
Right.
is your calling? Like I said, close your eyes, listen to your heart. What's the one thing that you can do better than anybody else? What is your one thing that you can do? And then, and if you're a giver, and if you want to help and you want to have an impact, then you do those things and you figure out what those are. And I've just always paid attention to that. What am I good at? What can I really excel at? What are the things that, what are my really unique God-given abilities? And let me maximize that to its full potential.
Yeah. So it sounds like your competitive edge, right? In the ever-changing world that we live in. You've already demonstrated how when COVID hit, you shifted into this, like, this isn't working. I got to go to that. So I think this will be our last question. What's coming up for you on the horizon? You've got the Dream One, you're working with Russell. What else?
Well, if people want to check out a free masterclass, go to connectionaway.com. We're doing an encore of that, I think on 4:00 during the week. And check that out. And we have a lot of great insights and things like that. And so again, we want to help people make those connections with their Dream One, that one person that would change their business forever. But with Russell and the ClickFunnels community, that's the biggest thing that I got going on right now. We've got some really cool, there's a book that Russell and I are doing, and I'm helping him publish another book, which is going to blow people's mind. And then we have an amazing offer membership site that's coming in March that people will be hearing about, and it's going to change the world. Basically, we're going to be offering all of these unpublished works of art and artifacts from Napoleon Hill and from others like Napoleon Hill to help elevate people's mindset, to give them access to like handwritten notes and to unpublished manuscripts and to all these kinds of things, to give us more information from these incredible mentors and leaders that you can have access for peanuts.
Right.
Versus, what it would cost to actually get your hands on some of this information would cost millions of dollars.
Yeah.
We're going to have a site or a membership where people can have access to it for not much more than a cup of coffee.
Tell us more about this book you've been teasing us about, if you can, or is it all top secret?
Book?
Yeah, the book.
No, I mean, it's a book that I wrote with Russell and those Inner Circle members those founding members. And so it's all of us talking about our entrepreneurial journeys, the ups and the downs, just like we just did now.
Yeah.
So you'll get 22 other people's, including Russell's, to give you those nuggets, those insights, to that if you can find one nugget from a conversation that you can apply to your business, it's worth its weight in gold. So
do you have a title?
it's a really cool book. It's a great honor to. It's called the Journey. Well, it's a working title right now, so I'll hold off on giving the title as right now, because it's never the official title until it's out. But we have one we think we're going to go with, but the publisher sometimes makes some tweaks. But it'll have the title. There'll be something about Inner Circle, Russell Brunson's name, and my name will be on it. I can tell you that much.
Okay. Awesome.
Woo!
Well, thank you so much, Justin. Now, this is an awesome interview.
Wow.
I mean, you have so much that you're working on and that you brought to this session. I mean, it's incredible. I'm just I'm in awe, and I just look forward to what's coming. This book, this book sounds incredible. So yeah, thank you so much for coming and sharing what you're doing with our audience, and just dropping so many gems and pearls and insight and action steps.
Gold. We're not 3 feet from gold. We're standing right on top of a pile of gold here that Justin just delivered.
Absolutely.
Woo, baby. Yes, sir. Well, we're gonna leave it there for today.
Yeah. And appreciate it, and keep watching. Keep watching our segments, weekly segments.
Right.
And as always,
Thank you in advance.
Just thinking and growing and learning and knowing and thinking and growing and learning and knowing. Yeah. Just thinking and growing and learning and knowing and thinking and growing and learning and knowing. Yeah. thinking and growing and learning and knowing and thinking and growing and learning and knowing. Yeah. We're thinking and growing and learning